Many consider the 1970s to be the greatest decade for movies, and one of the very best films from that decade is absolutely Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver. This film made such a huge impact on audiences in 1976, and it has gone on to be considered one of Scorsese's finest achievements. Why has Taxi Driver endured for so many decades? What is it about this film that still rings true today, that is still just as watchable as it was when it was released to theaters on February 8th, 1976? What makes Taxi Driver a masterpiece? Hey, it's Brian. Welcome to the awards contender and my new series, Movie Masterpieces, where I do deep dives into great classic films that are still entertaining and important and worth talking about. Taxi Driver has not lost an ounce of its power. It's so well directed and acted and scripted and shot and edited and scored. There is so much to talk about with this wonderful movie. I have 10 reasons, the 10 reasons why Taxi Driver is a masterpiece. Reason number 1 is Martin Scorsese's direction. Scorsese had been making a name for himself in the 1970s with films like Mean Streets and Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Taxi Driver is the one that really put him on the map, showcasing the great Robert De Niro in one of his very first leading roles in the film. This comes after his Oscar win in Best Supporting Actor for The Godfather Part 2. There were so many ways for a director to tell this story of Travis Bickle, an isolated and adrift taxi driver who doesn't have much purpose in life. He doesn't have any friends, any family. He talks to people in the cab, but he doesn't make any real connections. When he tries to be normal, when he tries to go on a date, it never ends well. So as the movie goes along, he becomes more and more isolated, more mentally unstable. So in the third act, we have violence, we have Travis Bickle committing atrocities against some questionable characters, people doing heinous things to young women, including Iris, played by Jodie Foster. The film doesn't offer the viewer any easy answers. And so that's an element of the movie that probably attracted Martin Scorsese to the project. Taxi Driver comes along and Scorsese says, I have to make this movie. I'm going to do it on my terms. I'm going to give it the kind of style I instilled in films like Mean Streets and Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, but continue growing as a filmmaker in so many ways. How he depicts his themes and ideas, his characters, the relationships, how he paces his film, how he is going to visually represent this story of Travis Bickle, his slow descent into hell and back. Scorsese has such a bold and confident touch as director in Taxi Driver. Just the way he opens the film, in those opening credits, how he depicts the taxi cab, all of that smoke, the mysteriousness he instills in the viewer right from the get-go. That unsettling mood, like not everything is as it seems. This is not going to be a standard drama about a taxi driver. He's going to infuse all of these really interesting small details, and it starts right in those early scenes. He likes to keep the audience off balance with odd colors, unusual framing in those early moments. Something Martin Scorsese does on a visual level in Taxi Driver that's really interesting, that showcases Travis as someone who tries to connect to other people but just can't do it, is the way Travis is always alone in the frame. Even when he's talking to other people, he talks to Sybil Shepherd's character of Betsy, Peter Boyle's character of Wizard, Jodie Foster's character of Iris. We have these scenes often where two people are talking to each other. When we're on the other actor, you see some of Travis in the frame, like his shoulder or his face, but when we cut back to Travis, you don't see any of the other person. What Scorsese is trying to convey in these scenes is that sense of isolation in Travis. How his mouth might be moving, he might be attempting a connection with another person, but at the end of the day, nothing is going to last. He is on his own, and that isolation over many, many weeks and months, it really puts him in a dark place. I love how Scorsese allows the story to play out with a slow and deliberate pace. He's never in a rush to get anywhere. He is not interested in plots at all. This is a character study through and through. That was the only way to make this film. If he had been too concerned with getting to more violence at the end, If it wasn't about Travis Bickle's emotional and physical journey in every moment, the film would not endure today the way it does. But I also appreciate his playfulness as director. His not being 100% tied to the screenplay every step of the way. He allows De Niro to improvise. That's how we get that famous scene, "You talking to me?" All it says in the script is that Travis looks at a mirror and talks to himself. Scorsese and De Niro working closely together, forming a bond. There is this trust between them that they can be playful. They can try things. Some of it won't work. Some of it will. Some of it will be one of the most famous scenes in movie history. I don't think anyone else at the time could have brought that personal touch that Scorsese gives Taxi Driver. Reason number 2 is Paul Schrader's screenplay. Yes, there is improvisation. Yes, there are certain moments that aren't like specifically spelled out in the script, but in terms of the structure, in terms of the evolution of Travis Bickle's character, that is all in Paul Schrader's spectacular screenplay. He wrote Taxi Driver in like 10 days. He wrote it really, really fast. He got the idea. He knew what he wanted to do with it. Then it was about getting it in front of the right director, which he did, of course, with Martin Scorsese. Something really brilliant about his script is the way it blends genres. It has elements of romantic comedy, political intrigue, character-driven drama, horror at the end. This is not just one kind of movie. It keeps the audience on their toes. They get a sense in those first 20 minutes what they think it might be. It's just going to be like this romance drama. He's pursuing this woman, Betsy. He has a crush on her, a borderline obsession really. And you think the film is going to be about their relationship, but soon enough that storyline goes by the wayside and we focus on other things. His interest in a political candidate who he gets to meet in his taxi cab, his desire to own a lot of guns, either to protect himself or inflict harm onto others, to do everything he can to keep this 12-year-old prostitute Iris safe from these horrible people who are abusing her in more ways than one. A huge reason Taxi Driver remains a masterpiece is that blending of genres in Paul Schrader's screenplay. The way the narrative continues to surprise you. You never know where the story is heading, so you have to just give yourself over to the director and the screenwriter and the actors. Know you're in very good hands. Know this journey is going to be worth the trip, and that Schrader in this screenplay has many important things to say. I love how close he brings us to Travis right from the get-go. With the narration, Travis, we're getting inside his head, we're understanding his thoughts and feelings about so many things in his life. Even though the character goes on to do some terrible things, we still, in this weird way, always root for him. He's not your typical protagonist hero of a narrative. He has some antagonistic qualities to him, but the narration that Paul Schrader provides in that screenplay, it brings us close, it makes us want to root for him. And along with the narration, just being with Travis in almost every scene of the movie also gets us to bond with him in a way. So the almost never leaving Travis's point of view, that also is something that works really well in the screenplay. Again, the focus on character and not plots. Like the screenplay has a structure to it. It definitely has an Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And there is a planting and payoff to that romance story with Betsy. She plays a big role in that first 20 minutes, and then we barely see her the rest of the film, but she does come back in the very last scene. She has that moment in his taxi cab where she's talking to him. She's like, "I read about you in the paper," and you think, okay, maybe they will try again. But no, he takes off, and we don't really know what's going to happen to Travis Bickle at the end. But there is structure to this, even though it does blend genres, and there's a lot happening in the narrative. The screenplay by Paul Schrader is an excellent one. It should have been nominated at the Oscars that year, along with Martin Scorsese in director. If you can believe it, they both missed. Scorsese is not in director for Taxi Driver, and Schrader's screenplay is not nominated. Wild. Reason number 3 is that Robert De Niro performance for the ages. This is the first time where he is all over a movie from beginning to end for 2 hours, and he gets so many things to play. He gets to show off everything he's made of as an actor. It's a really impressive emotional and physical journey he takes in that film. In those early scenes, he has a sweetness about him, he has a charm. When he goes into that office and talks to Betsy, you know, he's flirting with her, you kind of root for him, you think he's going to be a really good boyfriend to her, that maybe he can be like a decent, caring person. The first third of the film, he is sweet and genuine. You don't get a sense of all of the horror that is to come. Robert De Niro has a lot of complexity to deal with when it comes to this character, and he commits 100%. He's so interesting to watch. That has been the case going back many decades in a variety of films, but especially in Taxi Driver. When he's not narrating the film, you're wondering, like, what's he thinking right now? What's he going to do next? Like, you can't wait to find out. He's such a fascinating actor, and when he's given a role this rich, this fascinating, you cannot look away. He captures the manner in which isolation can break somebody down really well. There are so many scenes when he is by himself in his little apartment, where he's laying on his bed, when he's eating terrible food, watching television with disinterest to the point where he slowly knocks the TV set on the ground, breaking it. He just doesn't care anymore. That lack of connection to others really does start to mess with his mind, and the way De Niro captures that in the film from scene to scene, it's so believable. You understand why mentally he is starting to go in the wrong direction. He does so much just through his eyes, he doesn't have to say a word. And he also does a lot through his physical transformation. Like before he even gets the famous mohawk, right? At the end, his hair is completely different. He also just looks weathered, tired in the second half. Like he's not getting any sleep, where he's getting thinner, his cheeks are very pale, he's not shaving the way he was in the early scenes of the film. And then you see his physical look in those final few moments, and it's like, yeah, this guy is pretty well gone, but maybe, just maybe, there can still be some hope for him yet. Robert De Niro is one of our great actors, and this is one of his finest performances. I'm so happy he got in at the Oscars and Best Actor. He was nominated there. He did not attend the ceremony. He didn't win. That's the year of Peter Finch and Network. But it's a great nomination and a great performance from the amazing Robert De Niro, Travis Bickle, a character and performance for the ages. Reason number 4 is Jodie Foster's breakthrough dramatic performance as Iris, the 12-year-old prostitute who's living in a very dark world, can't trust the men around her, but she tries to make the most of it. She's not sitting in the corner crying at every moment, like she tries to make the best of an impossible situation. And it's not until Travis Bickle comes into her life where there might be lights at the end of the tunnel. Jodie Foster is extraordinary in this film. She makes the most of every scene. She's not in a lot of Taxi Driver. She's got like 4 or 5 scenes throughout the running time, but you do not forget about her character, those moments she shares with De Niro. She's such a natural actress in Taxi Driver. She's mostly in lightweight Disney fare around this time, like she's in Freaky Friday the same year as Taxi Driver. It could have taken Jodie Foster a long time to show her stuff, like what she was made of as a dramatic actress at that time. Thankfully, she's in Martin Scorsese's Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore 1974. She's briefly in that film, so he probably saw something in her, like she could play this role of Iris, give it all of the dramatic heft, make it natural, make her still act like a kid in this world of adult men doing terrible things. She's just so believable as this runaway prostitute. She captures the fear, she captures the bored nonchalance of her day-to-day, she captures the terror of her situation, her very first scene when she gets into Travis's taxi cab and like begs him to drive off. She needs to get away from this man, but he doesn't. and she's pulled out onto the sidewalk, and she captures her character's sweetness, her tenderness, her innocence, right? She's only 12 years old. That scene where she goes to breakfast with Travis and she gets to laugh, she gets to put on different shades of sunglasses, and she gets to just be herself. She's a young person who's been beaten down by life, who has made some questionable choices and has been taken advantage of by so many men. Like, you just get to see so many shades of Jodie Foster in this character. In just like maybe 10 to 15 minutes of screen time, she creates a fully three-dimensional character in Iris. I am so happy. She also got an Oscar nomination in Best Supporting Actress. She didn't win, but I'm so happy Foster got in there, because you see in this early stage of her career what she's made of, what she might accomplish in the decades to come. This is the moment where everybody recognized, holy shit, Jodie Foster is a dynamite actress. Reason number 5 Taxi Driver is a masterpiece is that supporting cast. Going beyond Jodie Foster, you also have so many wonderful actors in this movie. It's an abundance of riches. You have Sybil Shepherd, Albert Brooks, Peter Boyle, Harvey Keitel, and Martin Scorsese in a cameo, just to name a few. I mean, that one scene with Scorsese is an all-timer. He wanted a different actor for that scene, could not get him, and so on the day, he was like, well, I guess I will play this character, and he does such a great job. There's something kind of menacing about him. The way he talks to Travis gives him orders. That creepy voyeuristic element to the scene where they're staring at that upper floor window where his wife is having an affair, and he just wants to sit there in the cab and watch like the shadow of his wife in the window. It's really great. Scorsese is an incredible actor when he wants to be. He's been in things here and there going back decades, but this is one of his best performances, I think. Peter Boyle had been making a name for himself in the 70s. He's in Young Frankenstein, he's in Joe. And he's not playing the flashiest character in Taxi Driver. He's kind of a mentor in a way. But he's also believable as this veteran cab driver who has advice for Travis, and his scenes are really great. You have Harvey Keitel, who of course had worked with Scorsese on a bunch of projects before this. I'm happy Scorsese went with De Niro for the main character of Travis. I don't think Keitel would have done great there, but he's really good as Sports. He's so creepy in this with the long hair. The way he just does these heinous acts without any retribution until the very end. The way he holds Iris in that scene, pulling her close to him as if he owns her. It's a deeply disturbing character, and I think Harvey Keitel brings a lot to it. And then you have the lighter scenes, the more comedic moments with Sybil Shepherd and Albert Brooks. I mean, Albert Brooks, one of my favorites. He's very good in this, makes an impression. He adds humor to his scenes. I think that's necessary, especially early on. And then Sybil Shepherd, this is 5 years after the Last Picture Show. She's had a few stumbles in her career, but this is one of her best performances and characters. Even though, like Jodie Foster, she's not in a ton of it. In terms of playing a cool blonde, someone with a lot of agency who knows what she wants, Shepherd is excellent in this too. So it's not just De Niro and Foster who make this a masterpiece, it's also everybody else. The supporting cast, those interesting quirky characters we might just see for a brief moment. This movie is filled top to bottom with so many interesting performances. They make us want to come back to Taxi Driver over and over again. Reason number 6 is the striking cinematography by Michael Chapman. Every Martin Scorsese movie looks amazing. Just from the cinematography standpoint, one of the best, I think, in his long career is the look of Taxi Driver, especially at night. The way this movie captures New York City at night from the perspective of a cab driver, it's so dreamlike, so mysterious. You don't really know what's hiding in the shadows. There's a sense of dread in so much of Taxi Driver in both the nighttime scenes and the daytime scenes, especially near the end. The camera is a character in Taxi Driver. The way it's always on the move, you'll have a scene of dialogue where it's not moving very much, But then Scorsese and his cinematographer Chapman will like whip the camera around a character. It'll give you a sense of Travis's state of mind from scene to scene. You get inside of his psyche in a way, but at the same time, the constantly moving camera adds this propulsive quality to the storytelling. There is always a sense of purpose behind how the film looks, what the camera is doing from moment to moment. There's this amazing shot of Travis on a phone. He's trying to get a hold of Betsy, and the camera is pretty static. We're just watching him on the phone talking, and then the camera slowly tracks away from Travis into an empty hallway. And then it just sits in the hallway for a moment before Travis hangs up and walks away from us, like out of the building. It's such a weird and intriguing shot. It's not by accident, right? Like Scorsese and his cinematographer thought that shot through in a way to give us a sense of his increasing isolation. Travis, even though he's trying to connect, it's not happening. I love all of the variety of shots in this movie. Sometimes it'll be locked off like across the street. That long scene when Travis and Sport are talking right before he shoots him in the stomach. That's all done in one long take. The camera just kind of tracks with Travis. But then that's contrasted in the next moment when we have a variety of shots and edits in the most violent scene of the movie, where he is shooting all of those guys dead in the hallway going into that room where Iris is. Scorsese knows what he's doing. He knows how to create a mood with his cinematography. That is absolutely the case in Taxi Driver. Reason number 7 is Bernard Herrmann's operatic, beautiful score. His score to this movie is something extraordinary. And what makes it even more amazing is that he finished the score to Taxi Driver right before he died. I mean, the week he died, he finished scoring this film. And so there is this sense of finality, longing in the score he creates to this masterpiece of a movie. Most of Scorsese's films don't have a score. He usually just uses old songs and stuff. This is a case where we have a very Hitchcockian score that overlays everything that happens in the narrative, and it is kind of like the cinematography too, a character in the film. The way the music makes you feel from scene to scene, it makes you wonder, like, could there be something positive for Travis? Does everything have to end terribly for him? The music gives the viewer a longing, a sense of hope. It kind of personifies that desire in Travis to connect to another person. When he's driving around, when he's on the phone, when he's talking to Betsy, the score gives this sense that he wants to find companionship and not be as isolated as he is. The score is dreamlike in many scenes, especially when he's driving the cab, and a lot of what we're seeing is in slow motion. It's like he's entering a different world. And the score at times has a severe darkness to it. It's not just light and frothy all the way through. This movie takes Travis to hell and back, and so Bernard Herrmann's score really captures that quality. I am so happy that Bernard Herrmann got a posthumous Oscar nomination in Best Original Score for Taxi Driver. He actually got 2 that year. He was also nominated for his score to Obsession posthumously, so he might have canceled himself out with those 2 nominations, but so well deserved. His score to Taxi Driver is an all-timer. Reason number 8 is the sense of place in Taxi Driver, the use of New York City in this narrative. Another character in the film. It would not work in another city. If it was in Los Angeles or San Francisco or somewhere else, I just don't think Taxi Driver would have its potency. The way New York City is depicted in all of its beauty and its ugliness, how at night it can take on this dreamy, unusual quality, and also how in the daytime it's just a place where people live and work. There's so many bright shots of people just going about their day. They work as an antithesis in a way to Travis's dark and isolated life, almost entirely existing behind doors and windows. His not really being a part of that city. He's just a small cog who looks out on people living their lives, not really living one of his own. And the way New York City is captured in every moment, I mean, there's rarely a scene you don't get a sense of the city. So I think that's another reason why the film is a masterpiece, how it incorporates New York City in its narrative. The use of those pornographic movie theaters, those dirty theaters that Travis inhabits a lot in the first third, those dark buildings where young prostitutes take adult men into rooms filled with shadow and danger. Taxi Driver would not be nearly as powerful of a film if it was set anywhere but New York City. Reason number 9 is its fascinating themes of moral decay, of disillusionment, of isolation, of voyeurism. There are so many interesting themes in Taxi Driver. Look beyond the characters, look beyond the cinematography. Just think about what the film is trying to say, especially when it comes to isolation, how it can break a person down to the point where they don't want to live anymore. We have that moment near the end where Travis shoots and kills those people who are taking advantage of Iris. And when the cops show up, he makes that gesture like to shoot him too, to take his life as well. He is in despair for most of the second half of this film. The manner in which isolation has broken his character to the point where he no longer wants to survive, I think that's a pivotal theme in the film. The way he can never connect to a human being, even though he tries, even though he talks to that political candidate in his cab, even though he takes Betsy out for a couple of dates. There's no connection there. And so in the second half, when he's spending most of his time at home, when he's not talking to anybody, that isolation can really just slowly chip away at you to the point where you become mentally unstable and you make all of the wrong choices. He is slowly going out of his mind, just being a voyeur, watching people but not really interacting. Voyeurism is another theme of this. There's so much of Taxi Driver where he is just sitting and watching, right? It's a Hitchcockian theme going back to Rear Window and Vertigo. You see that all throughout Hitchcock's work, and that's what makes Bernard Herrmann's score in Taxi Driver so interesting, because Herrmann worked with Hitchcock a lot. The themes of Taxi Driver, isolation, moral decay, voyeurism, everything that plays a significant role in making Travis Bickle the person he is by the end of the film, also make the experience of Taxi Driver so rich and haunting. And the 10th reason Taxi Driver is a masterpiece, I'm not going to say the final reason, there's many others I could talk about, but the last major reason this is a masterpiece is how it continues to endure to this day. After 50 years, Taxi Driver is still immensely watchable and entertaining and surprising and fascinating every step of the way. These themes I just talked about, they are still in our lives, right? When it comes to social media, so many people these days, young and old, isolating themselves. Always in their own little bubble, feeling like they're putting themselves out there through a tweet, but not making a real, genuine connection with another person. That was the case in the 70s, like this idea of isolation breaking you down. If you're not spending time outside with other people, that can take a toll on you. That is still very much the case today, and in some ways, it's more prevalent now. We spend so much of our times by ourselves, not really engaging with others, so that element of Taxi Driver still endures. The distrust of politicians, which plays a big role in the film, that is still very much the case today, right? The desire for justice, especially when young women are being taken advantage of, like that's all over the news now. That's still something that's being fought day after day in a variety of countries all over this world, and that's also a big element of Taxi Driver, the desire to do something that's right in the face of evil. There are so many ideas and story developments in Taxi Driver that are still in our society today, so the film is not dated. You can point to the clothes, you can point to certain aspects to this movie, but in terms of its ideas and its themes, the story development, where everything goes in that third act, it's still just as vital and important of a film today as it was in 1976. I mean, people at the time recognized the power of Taxi Driver, just how great of a film it was. One more Oscar nomination it receives is Best Picture of the Year. It loses to Rocky, and that's a bummer, but at least it made it into that top category. This very unusual film that opens very, very early in the year, February 8th, 1976. It hangs on for more than a year and gets into Best Picture at the Academy Awards. I think that is fantastic. This is one incredible movie. I have seen it so many times. It's always calling to me. It's one of the very best films made in the 1970s. You have the Martin Scorsese direction, that screenplay by Paul Schrader, the all-timer Robert De Niro performance, the dramatic breakthrough for Jodie Foster, that wonderful supporting cast, the cinematography, the score, the sense of place in New York City, those themes, the endurance of this film, the way it continues to speak to us to this day. Oh yeah, Taxi Driver is and will always be a masterpiece.